Hello wonderful people at the internet. Today we're doing something a little bit different. It's a kind of video that I haven't done before, but I had nothing to review. I'd done a book tag recently, and I didn't think you'd want to see me sit here and talk about the things that I might read in the future. So I took a look on some of my favourite booktubers' channels, and I was on Murphy and Appears at this point, and what came up was a video reacting to 1-star reviews of my favourite books, and I thought, that's a pretty good idea. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, before we begin, I bought more books, and I'll just show them now before I stick them on my shelves. What we picked up was Stormfront by Jim Butcher, which is the first book of the Dresden Files, which is another one of my favourite booktubers' favourite books. That's Daniel Green. He used to like them, they've fallen out of favour for him, but he does often praise the earlier books and kind of the middle books, so I'm thinking, okay, we'll give it a go. It's not usually what I'd read, but you know, it's good to broaden our horizons a bit. And another one is Jade City, which is the first book of the Greenbone saga, which is almost universally loved by everyone. And the back of the book wasn't doing a lot for me. It sounded like kind of a crimey gangster book, and I was like, yeah, it's not my cup of tea. But then, because I didn't know whether I was going to go ahead and get it or not, I'm trying to find a bit in here. I thought I'll read the first page, and there was a simile in here, which made me go, you know what, we're going to buy this book. And the simile was this. Summer had barely begun, and already the city of Janloon was like a spent lover, sticky and fragrant. And I thought, that's funny! So I got the book. So those are on the TBR now, along with pretty much everything else on my shelves. But we'll get there eventually. But we'll actually move on to the focus of the video now, and look at some 1-star reviews of my favourite books. Now, I haven't actually prepared any, because I'm really clever like that. So forgive me while I get these. I got my thing down here. So I did do a top 5 favourite books video recently, and I believe I said my favourite book was Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, so we'll go ahead and read a few 1-star reviews for that one. I'm not sure whether it would still be my favourite book now, but it's pretty darn up there. So this one, I'll probably put a little screenshot on there if I decide to be a bit classy. We'll do that now. So if I hold this here so I'm not looking down, this was excruciatingly boring, ... It's basically about a guy in prison telling his story about another guy in prison, ... That's all it was. Our narrator is in prison for I don't know whatever crime he committed, ... Shoplifting maybe, ... Who knows? I think it was cutting the tyres on someone's car. Not cutting the tyres, the brake wire. Anyways, he's in prison telling us a story about how Andy Dufresne managed to get out of prison. So technically, it's an autobiography and a biography, double, question mark, no clue, ... The original version I read was called Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, so I guess this is the book. Rita Hayworth turns out to be a painting that Dufresne was digging and escaped route behind for all the years he was in Shawshank prison, plus he had the whole cell to himself for some reason. I only read this because I was looking for another short, spooky read before committing to Kings and chunkier books. I heard praise about this, so I was like, why not? If you want to bore yourself to sleep, this is the book to go for. Okay. This person likes a bit of a ... But, I get where they're coming from. I understand. I think if this sounds like they were looking for maybe a short, spooky book, and this is a short, it's a short book, but it is not by any means at all a spooky book, and so I think maybe that's why they must have got upset in the fact that it wasn't a horror book. But is it boring? I guess it depends on your taste. I don't think the book's boring, and the themes in the book as well, which is what elevated the book for me. The themes and how good it makes you feel, and also Stephen King's wonderful writing style, and some of the things that happen with Dufresne are genuinely, in my opinion, interesting on the terms of how much he changes the prison, considering he's an inmate, but it's what appeals to different people. So that's Shawshank Redemption. Right, next we'll do my favourite Discworld book, which is Reaper Man by Terry Pratchett, and I've read some 1-star reviews of this before, because I was thinking, you can't enjoy a good thing forever, can you? So I'll try and ruin it for me. Oh wow, this one's quite a long one, so I'll go with it. I'll try and screenshot it, because I'm putting them onto a thingy so I can send it to myself for editing later. Right. Ugh. ... This started as a 4-star and dropped way down to a 1-star. Without a complete shit... what a complete shit show this book turned out to be. It started with great death stuff, it was funny, I was loving it, and it started introducing this weird other plot, so I figured, okay, it'll weave together like they normally do in Discworld books. Wow, was I wrong? Death slowly disappeared over the course of the book until he was a subplot, and this bizarre, totally random and arbitrary and nonsensical plot about cities took over. It made absolutely no sense, it was painful to read through because it was so confusing and so poorly edited. ... Major disappointment, I couldn't even read till the end, I stopped about 80% of the way through and just skimmed because it was awful. I realised now after this being, I think, my 15th Discworld book that Pratchett desperately needed editors. Clearly he did not have good editors and was not getting good advice. His book quality ranges drastically due to that. His ideas are usually solid, but man, ... editing. He needs editing. I mean, this is how I feel. Reaper Man has quite a few. It's like the negative reviews of Reaper Man are entirely valid. Like the death parts of this book are the best bit, and the main plot of that takes over from the death bit, which features the Unseen University wizards, is weird and inferior in quality to the other plot. But considering this was my first Discworld book I ever read, I have a lot of bias towards how I feel about it. It's like my little thing that I love, and even though I realise that maybe it's not very good, I don't think it's as bad as this person made it sound. I mean, yeah, the quality is noticeably different, but the Wizard's plot is still really fun. I still really like the Wizard's plot. Don't know about the bit about editors, because I think he had editors around this point. I don't think the book needed to be trimmed down. You know, he was getting across various points that he wanted to get across. I mean, I agree, but I choose to ignore those criticisms in my brain because I like the book too much. Oh no! This one looks angry. This one looks very angry. Okay, well, I'll zoom out because this one has a bit more oomph, a bit more meat to it. Screenshot, paste. Okay, Terry Pratchett is supposed to be one of the greatest writers of our time. I know, this is gonna upset me. I wouldn't have guessed it from reading this book. The author's style felt like Douglas Adams' later attempts to sound like Douglas Adams' early books. You know how by the fourth Hitchhiker book, Adams was making jokes that felt almost obligatory, as though they were merely steps in the form of Adams. The timing of further jokes suggests a Mad Libs outline. Pratchett uses awkwardly constructed metaphors that could have come from the online Dave Barry column generator, and the sleepy story consists of 2 or 3 separate plots, each like enough interest for even a good short story. The most interesting piece is the story of Death and Tide, but if you want to read about that, pick up Piers Anthony's much better incarnations of the Immortality series. After I finished sleeping through the last half of the book, I picked up my manual and amateur radio communication and found it a much better read. That stings. I mean, maybe Pratchett isn't for you. I mean, Pratchett does be funny to intentionally be funny. I can't comment on the Adams comparison because I've only read the first Hitchhiker book. But I mean, ow! I mean, yeah. Again, they're not wrong. I understand how someone could feel like that, but man, it's just they don't like Terry Pratchett here. So right, next. What will we go on to next? But yeah, no, yeah, I agree with a lot of those. I just like the book, if that makes sense. I see where they're coming from, though. And we'll do Fullmetal Alchemist, because that's not a standard form novel, that's a manga. I'll try and find a review of the whole series. Search up full set. Didn't come up. What about box set? It has appeared. Do we have 1-star reviews? There are 0 reviews. But there are 12 ratings. Okay. Okay. We'll go with Fullmetal Alchemist 27 then. I mean, how can you not like the ending to Fullmetal Alchemist? How can you possibly... There are 0 reviews! Because no one hates Fullmetal Alchemist. It's not possible. Okay, we'll try the first book. If nothing comes up for this one, then we'll just have to accept that Fullmetal Alchemist is the most perfect story ever told and leave it there. Okay, I found one that I can actually provide some sort of commentary on. What they said. I'm trying to read from my really small screenshot now. This book didn't do much for me. First, I read this for a class at UT Austin and it was rather unappealing. Story switched from plot to plot instead of developing the story and the characters throughout the whole book. Maybe that is manga, maybe it is just this book. Either way, I'm not a fan. That makes sense, and I remember that Daniel Green actually made a review of Berserk quite a while back in which he criticised it for not doing much, and that's because it's the first volume of a long-going series, and since then he's read it and loves it and rated it in his top 10 favourite fantasy series ever, so that's character development. But this is an understandable criticism for the first book in a 27-book series like this. The characters aren't going to grow or develop throughout the first book, and they definitely grow and develop by the end of the book. but I think maybe this person just didn't understand quite how manga works properly. But if that's not for them, that's fine. But that's what I think. That's what I think overall when people read a comic or a manga and think that's not very good, the characters didn't do much. It's because it's a small chunk, a very small chunk. But yeah, there we are. That's Fullmetal Alchemist. I'm glad no one actually gave a 1-star review at the ending, because the ending is impeccable. What else can we get up? I can't remember what I put in my top 5 favourite books video. We'll go with The Witcher. And I put The Witcher Blood of Elves on there. But my favourite Witcher book so far has been Time of Contempt. So, no, it was The Last Wish I put on the top 5 video. So what we'll do is I'll get up 1-star reviews of the thingy, the Time of Contempt. And I know that actually quite a lot of people don't like this book anymore. Okay, so I found one for the Time of Contempt, and it's quite a long one. So I'll generalise some of the points, because they talk about some of the same things all the time. But they say that they really like The Blood of Elves, and that they were disappointed by this one, and that at the start they thought it was okay, and then towards the end they decided it wasn't okay. So they actually, for a 1-star review, they do praise a fair bit of this book. They say that they really like the humour, and you can see their exact points in the screenshots on the screen. And then what they didn't really like was the plot, which is admittedly quite slow. Not a lot happens, but that's the style of the Witcher books. It's very plodding. There's a lot of sitting around in The Witcher. There's a lot of talking. There's a lot of politics and storytelling through dialogue, and it gets a bit heavy going. There's a lot of that, and so it is very slow paced and there is very little action. But I thought towards the end of the book it really picked up. This is where all the politics started going really badly, and it was Dandelion telling Geralt about all the things that had happened. You get little short bits from other people's perspectives as to what's going on, and I thought that was really cool and really engaging, but clearly this person didn't. But this book really was about 3 kind of key events. There was, well, I'll outline them because spoilers for everything in this video. There's the Nilfgaardian invasion, there's the Fëanor coup, and there's and the 4 major events. Then there's the Nilfgaardian War and what's happening with it, and then there's what happens to Ciri. So those are the 4 kind of major events in the book, and with the 3rd major event, the events of the Nilfgaardian War, it's just you're told it rather than living it in the main part, which I didn't mind and thought you got a good variety of different perspectives, which was interesting. The first bit, which was the attack on Dalangra, which triggers the war happening, took quite a long time to occur, but I liked seeing it happen because you saw this messenger with the important message of don't go ahead with the fake attack happen. No, it wasn't Nilfgaard decided that, it was the Northern Realms, but you see that whole thing set up like this. This messenger's got to give this important message to say don't start the attack to this ruler, and you know that obviously the message isn't going to get there, and then he's killed, and you know that's when that kicks off, and then you have the coup, and the coup takes a long time as well. There's a good 50 pages maybe of just talking and nothing really happening in setup, and then everything starts happening. So I understand how they might not find the plot very engaging. They criticise actually directly in this the coup, not the coup, the bit that led up to the coup, which was admittedly quite boring, and it was mostly about setting up what was about to happen, which maybe isn't the best writing decision, but you know, I didn't mind it. Oh, and then they can't remember what happened after that, which is weird, because as I said, the most memorable stuff was really after the party. That's when it all got really good. But hey, if that's what they can't remember, that's a different experience to mine. And then, of course, they get on to the sexism in The Witcher, which is a point that a lot of the people that don't like it often talk about. And it's not something that I feel I have a place to talk about at all. But I do understand that the representation of women is not great in a lot of ways. And okay, I'm going to try and stumble through this point. I mean, I've got the thing on the screen, so you'll understand where I'm coming from. But a lot of them it's a bit James Bondy. They're like, oh, I'm going to sleep with Geralt, and they're just like, oh, I like looking nice, and I like having sex, and that's the female characters in the background, and obviously that's not a very good representation of female characters at all. Yeah, that's basically the issue, I believe, that's here, and they're wondering why a lot of the great female characters, because this book has some really great female characters like Yennefer, like to say that you've got some really good female characters, why they're on the sidelines quite a lot, because they don't turn up much, actually. Yennefer, I want more of Yennefer, because she's really interesting, and she's not in it much, actually. Which isn't how I felt about the Netflix series, because they put her in there a lot in the Netflix series, but also changed her character quite a lot, so I was like, no more Yennefer. But now I'm like, more Yennefer. So the criticism is that the cast of female characters isn't diverse. They're either not emasculated, just masculinized, or sexualized, which is true, I suppose. Although, I mean, I don't know, because it's this. Here comes the argument of whether it is sexist or not, right? Because you could say that that's just how the society of sorceresses is, and that's a dodgy argument because it's still a sexist depiction, but whether it's a conscious choice not triggered by or not intended to be hateful, if that makes sense, it's the intent behind it. Did Sapkowski just write it because he was like, oh, this is what all women are like, so I'll write them like it? Or did he write it to be specifically in a negative way? Because it does feel quite intentional, and the way that they behave does genuinely affect the plot, I suppose. It feels like a very big part of the sorceress culture, but yet again it's about the intent, and I can't comment because I don't know what the intent is, but I understand entirely why people might not like the book because of it, and at times I'm a bit like, come on man, you don't want to keep it on the same one note with the female characters, which is what he does. Okay, but that's a pretty big review, so that'll be the only 1-star one we'll do for Time of Contempt, and I'll have a look around now and think of some other ones I can talk about. We'll go with The Shining, because The Shining is a book that I actually used to really love. Should we do The Shining or Misery? No, I feel like there'll be more negative reviews of The Shining than there will Misery, because Misery is more widely liked, so we'll go with this one. What they criticised about this book is that it was dull. I'll put the light on because it's getting a bit dark. That's how long I've been scrolling for. Right, one of the criticisms here was that the book was dull, which is understandable. It can be quite boring at times. They say that not much happens, and that King takes too much time explaining things that could have been explained in a shorter amount of time, and that Jack Torrance's kind of descent into madness was done poorly and a bit jarringly, and that he tried to squeeze too much into one book, and that they've got a few nitpicks here that I'll actually read out. Why can the hotel haunt and produce actual ghosts but not fix its own boiler? Why did the hotel work so hard for Dany and never make a serious play for Halloran? And we know that Dany is a far more powerful shiner than Halloran, but if it was that desperate, then it would have gone for Halloran anyway. I guess that makes sense. So yeah, that's what they're saying, and all of this is actually entirely valid, and some of those criticisms have made me see the book in a bit of a different way, actually. But the book is slow. It's really slow, and this is why it's kind of fallen out of favour in my brain for me, because I remember thinking, wow, this slow burn was really good. But no, I think back on it, I actually wouldn't want to read it again, which is a sign that maybe something isn't as good as I first thought it was. And then the whole Descent into Madness thing I thought was actually done really well, but I've not read a book with it like that before, so I was like, oh wow, this is brilliant. But I'm not well versed in books where people go insane, so I don't know. But I do feel like the book handled that a bit better than the Stanley Kubrick film, in which he started off crazy and just got crazier. Whereas in this one, he did go from being a relatively okay guy to then being a psycho. But and obviously it was the slow descent of seeing how he got lured into the hotel's past and seeing how he gets. I can't remember it enough, but I do know that it felt more gradual, though that might be because it took so long to happen, because it's such a long book. But I do get, I like with all of these, I do get where these people are coming from. And I, especially because The Shining isn't one of my favourite books anymore, I especially here could see, oh yeah, that makes sense, and this is why I don't like it as much as I used to. But we'll wrap it up there, because I've got 40 minutes of footage to edit now, so that's going to be really nice for me. But thank you so much for watching, and I will get a review to you or something next week. So I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye.